Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the program Mastering Contest Roles, a guide for judges and chief judges. My name is Razi. I am Program Quality Director for District 51. Before I begin, let me just introduce myself first. I am a member of AIA Toastmasters Club. I joined the club in 2015. Not a charter member. I joined a year after that. And since becoming president of the club, that was like within 10 months, the next contest cycle, I became a voting judge. And that's how I began my experience as a voting judge. I have stories here and there that I would share with you on my experience of being a CJ as well as being a voting judge as we go along in the program. As a house rule, please switch off your audio as well as your video. As this is being recorded, we would like to have the two hosts to appear on the screen. And then this recording will be shared in YouTube. Then secondly, if you have questions, do ask in the chat box. We have our assistant who will be monitoring the questions. His name is Chiam. Chiam is from One World Toastmasters Club. Before we begin, let us get to know Susan. Over to you, Distinguished Toastmaster Susan Wu. Over to you.
Thank you, Yugudi Razi. My name is Susan, and I'm from One World Toastmasters Club, as well as from Super Speakers Toastmasters Club. And I have been a Toastmaster for 11 years now, and I am happy to share with you my experience being a chief judge.
Wow, so we have one person here who is really experienced, whom that we have seen here and there playing a role of chief judge or as a voting judge. We always invite each other for any contest of which we become a chief judge. Correct or not, Susan?
Yes.
Yeah. And then how we are going to conduct this session is we are going to ask questions. For chief judge, I'm going to ask Susan a lot of questions about her role as a chief judge. Before we begin, let me just ask Susan the first question. You have got so much experience, Susan. So what are the tips that you can share with us in becoming effective chief judge?
The key word in your question is effective, right? So you want to be an effective chief judge. First of all, you got to be very familiar with the contest rules, as well as understanding the roles and responsibilities, not only that of the chief judge, but also of all the other contest officials, right? For example, the chief judge got to be aware that the contestants and contest officials meet all the eligibility requirements for contests at different levels, and also to ensure to be committed to carry out the responsibilities. So the chief judge role has a lot of responsibilities.
For someone who has never been a chief judge before, so what do you recommend for them to do?
If you have never been a chief judge before and you intend to be one, first of all, be prepared, right? One day you will be chief judge, right? So you have to be prepared. And how? First of all, get to play the role of the voting judge in a contest as many times as possible. And also, not only the role of voting judge, you also got to experience the role of a timer and ballot counter as well. Why? Why these roles? So that you are familiar with the importance of these roles in the operation of the contest. So one cannot do without the other. Then, of course, when you are the voting judge, you must observe. Observe and learn how, when the chief judge play his or her role, especially during the briefing session, Yeah, and I want to give an example, my own experience. When I was voting judge and distinguished Toastmaster Ramdas was the chief judge, I observed fervently how he briefed the judges. Yes, and asked questions when in doubt. And on top of all the above, we must use the contest rulebook as your guide when in doubt, or ask whoever is able to give you a definite answer, or else just write to TI.
Thanks so much, Susan. That reminds me actually about my own experience of being a chief judge for the first time. I also met the same mentor like you, and I asked him, what do I need to be prepared in becoming a chief judge? And he asked me the question, have you been a voting judge? Of course, you have been. You have been in my team. And then, have you been a timer? You have been. Then he asked me again, have you been a ballot counter? I said, no, I've never been a ballot counter. Then he said to me, be a ballot counter first before you become a chief judge, because you will be there to supervise the tabulation of score that is done by the ballot counters. If you don't know how it is done, there is no way for you to become an effective chief judge. Thank you so much, Susan, for sharing with us on that. Now, how do I become eligible to be a chief judge? Let's say I've never been a chief judge. How do I become eligible for that role?
To be a chief judge, of course, you have to be a paid member for at least 6 months. Then have completed a minimum of 6 speech projects in the competent communication manual, or have earned certificates of completion in levels 1 and 2 of any path in the Toastmasters Pathways learning experience. Yeah, and of course, preferably have played the role of voting judge numerous times and observing the chief judge role, like I have mentioned earlier. Yeah, having played all the other roles if possible.
Okay, thanks so much on that. Now, let's move on to the roles and responsibilities of a chief judge. I know their role, they have got a big role as a chief judge, because to a certain extent, the success of the contest depends on him as well. Share with us about the roles and responsibilities of a chief judge based on your experience and based on the rule book as well.
There is a long list of roles and responsibilities of a chief judge. First of all, you have to appoint the officials. Officials meaning the voting judges, the ballot counters, timers, as well as the tie-breaking judge. Then at different level contests, you will have different number of judges. So at the club contest, at least a minimum of 5 voting judges, a tiebreaker judge, 2 counters, ballot counters, and 2 timers are appointed. Then at the area level, also there must be a minimum of 5 voting judges, and this number of judges must be commensurate with each area, okay? And in addition to these voting judges, 1 tiebreaker judge, 2 ballot counters, and 2 timers. Then at the division level, there must be an equal number of voting judges from each area in the division, or a minimum of 7 voting judges. In addition to these voting judges, a tiebreaker judge, 2 ballot counters, and 2 timers must be appointed. The voting judges and the tie-breaking judges, the tie-breaking judge must not be a member of any club in which the contestant is a member.
Wow.
And then,
yeah,
after having appointed the judges, the chief judge will brief all appointed officials on their duties, including the ballot counters as well as the timers, and provide them with the necessary materials. Then during the contest, the chief judge will collect timers' record sheet and ensure that the ballots are collected from the voting judges, right? Then the chief judge, that is after the last speaker has spoken, the chief judge is responsible for handling any protests regarding originality and eligibility. And after the contest, the chief judge will oversee the counting of votes with the ballot counters and will use the tie-breaking ballot if necessary. Yeah. And finally, the chief judge will deliver the contest result to the contest Toastmaster and will inform the contest Toastmaster if there's any disqualification. Then these roles ensure the contest will run smoothly and fairly.
Wow,
Is that
sound
informative enough?
yes, very informative and quite exhaustive also at the same time. It's like you have run through with us from the day the chief judge has agreed to become a chief judge with the contest official, with the organizing chair, then of course until the end of the contest. Well, let's go through all the details. So how about the duties of a chief judge when you are invited to become a chief judge of a club? So how do you begin your duty actually?
The duties again is a long list.
Oh, okay. Share with us. We have 1
Of
hour.
course, you got to look for the voting judges, right?
Yeah.
And time is crucial. So I will need, as the chief judge, I will need about 4 weeks notice from the contest chair or from the date of the contest. Then I will set a date for the briefing, preferably a week before the contest date. And for ease of communication, I will set up a WhatsApp group for the judges, and I'll share the latest contest rulebook. I will share the judges' certification of eligibility and code of ethics form, as well as the ballot forms for the respective contests. Now, why do I want to send all these beforehand? That is because I will want to encourage the voting judges to read through the contest rules, as well as read through the judging criteria from the ballot forms, so that they are more familiar and more aware of their duties. Okay? And I personally prefer to brief the voting judges, ballot counters, and timers in advance, instead of on the day of the contest. That is because some may be playing the role for the first time, and they may need more explanation and clarification on the specific role.
All right. But you talk about briefing just now, actually. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So you mentioned that you prefer to do it online a week before. Yeah? And what do you normally talk about during the briefing?
During the briefing, I will cover the key points, yeah, to ensure clarity and fairness. So first of all is the eligibility and the ethics. So that will confirm each judge, and that is to confirm that each judge has completed the judge's certification of eligibility and the code of ethics form. Okay, then the contest rules. I will review the contest rules, emphasizing the importance of impartiality and confidentiality. Okay, and then the judging criteria. Explain the judging criteria and how to use the judge's guide and ballot. Yeah, and highlight the importance of evaluating each contestant based on the same standards. So no abomination against bias of any kind. Yeah. So by Biasness. What I mean by biasness is sometimes when you are a voting judge in a contest, you may have a good first impression of the first speaker or a good last impression of the last speaker. So we should do away with this kind of biasness. Okay, and also we may have a lot of empathy on the contestant who is a weaker speaker, right? You may have empathy for this speaker and you may want to help. Yeah, or maybe you have this halo effect. This contestant to you look like a celebrity and impress on you so much, and maybe you want to give more marks to this contestant. Or the reverse halo effect. You don't like this speaker, you don't like the face, and then you mark down, right? Or this speaker is second time around contestant, and you want to give this speaker a chance. So these are all your own feelings, right? Which must not come into play, right? You should do away with all these and not have biasness or prejudice or personal preferences. So it is not easy, but we will try our level best to be fair to all contestants. So these are the biasness which I will want to emphasize during the briefing. Yeah, and also to read the back of the ballot for a description of each judging item. Yes, and of course as well, read the judge's code of ethics. And next is, which is very important, the ballot has to be signed, right? If the name is there and it's not signed, it is not valid. Okay? And of course, write down the first, second, and third placing of the contestants. And to note, not to consider time as a judging criterion.
Yeah. It looks like you have quite a long list there.
Yes, I have some more.
Some more. Go ahead.
So, and also to mark down if the speaker moves out of the speaking area. And next is also very important, which is the anonymity. You stress the importance of maintaining anonymity to avoid any potential bias. Judges' decisions and identities are confidential. So sharing the name of judges could lead to confrontations with contestants or audience members who do not agree with the contest results. So anonymity helps the judges to be more effective, yeah, and make more objective decisions, because confrontations after the contest are less likely, right? Then next is also very important, that is protest. I will outline the process for handling protests regarding originality or eligibility. So 25% or less of the speech may be devoted to quoting, paraphrasing, or referencing another person's content. Any quoted, paraphrased, or referenced content must be so identified during the speech presentation. Contestants, they must not reference another contestant. So this is something new that is added to the contest rule, yeah. Contestants must not reference another contestant or a speech presented by another contestant during their speech at the same contest in which they are competing. So the keywords here are at the same contest in which they are competing. Okay. Protest can only be based on eligibility or originality. And the contestant must be given an opportunity to respond to the judges on a protest regarding originality. Then the judges will vote as to whether or not they concur. So if a majority of the judges, and of course, a majority of the vote of the judges is needed to concur. Okay. The contest chair, if there is any disqualification based on eligibility, so the contest chair will privately tell a contestant that he was disqualified based on the basis of eligibility before the contest adjourns. Only judges and contestants can make a protest to the chief judge or to the contest chair before the announcement of results. Okay, and I would advise judges not to sit next to or near any of the contestants, to sit near enough to the front to be able to hear the contestants clearly. Okay, and as for the ballots, destroy the top part of the ballot away from the contest site. So you may not want a contestant to see you chuck the ballot, the top part of the ballot into the dustbin, and the next minute you may find that the contestant has picked it up, and there may be confrontations after that. So these are what I would want to brief the voting judges.
Really a long list. Do you remember everything when you brief the other judges? Do you have a note that you refer to? Or since you are doing it online, do you have like slides that you project?
Yes, sometimes it depends on the judges. If they are very experienced judges, I normally will not use slides. But if one or two of them are very new, I will use the slide because I will want to explain the judging criteria and the points accorded for each of the judging criteria. Okay, and also have to bear in mind that many of the we also want to encourage more members to be voting judges, right?
Yep. Yeah. And about the what do you call that? About the briefing, yeah. How about briefing to the tiebreaker judge?
The same rules will apply, for the tiebreaker judge. Same rules as the voting judge. Just that the tiebreaker judge has to stay anonymous even to the voting judges, only known to the chief judge. And as the tiebreaker judge, he must rank every contestant on the ballot, not only the three winners, but all the contestants. And the ballot I will only use the ballot, only when necessary, only when there is a tie.
So when it comes to using slides, do you recommend for first-time chief judge to use slide or just to refer to a note? Which one is preferable?
If you are doing it online, I prefer to use slide. But if you are doing physically, doing the briefing physically, it's not necessary. You can just show the ballot, right? But if you are doing it online, I prefer to use slide. Then it'll be easier for the new role player.
Okay, while waiting for the day of the contest, do you communicate with the contest chair, and how do you do that?
Yes, of course. I have to be in constant communication with the contest chair, because I will make sure that the contest chair will print out all the forms necessary for the contest, especially for the judges as the ballots and all the reporting forms for the chief judge. Okay, and also to make sure that the contest chair have got all the contestants sign the eligibility form. Yes, and also I will suggest that the contest chair invite the chief judge to join their briefing session for the role players in order that the chief judge is aware of the running of the contest.
Right. So that's on the briefing to the judges. Now, the communication prior to the day of the contest. Now, the day of the contest is here, and you are there in the room. So what do you do other than being there in the room, joining the member of the audience? So what else do you do while you are there during the contest?
First thing I'll do is I will gather the judges to the holding room, hand out all the ballots, and introduce them to the ballot counters. Okay. Then I will also brief the timers again to confirm where best to place the timing device, and also to check that the timing device is in good working condition. At the same time, also to have a backup timing device. Yeah. And also to ensure that the contest Toastmaster, he or she has briefed the contestant and the speaking order is done. And to check on the speaking area and to inform the judges of the speaking area as well as speaking order for the contestants.
How about the briefing to the timers, Susan? What do you do when you brief the timers actually?
I will brief the timers online too. Yeah,
Right.
before the contest day.
On the day itself?
On the day itself, I will do it again to make sure that they are aware of the timing for each contest type and who to record the timing on the timer sheet and who to operate the timing device. Okay, and on the day, like I said, I will check the timing device and the location of the timing device. So it is a reminder on the day itself for the timers of their role.
So there's a time that you hand over the timer sheet to them, right?
Yes.
And then you will just highlight the duration taken for that particular contest.
Yeah.
What time it is supposed to be time disqualified, if it's less than certain minute, or if it's more than a certain number of minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. While the contest is going on, what do you do, Susan, as a chief judge?
Well, I'll be sitting inside the contest room, right?
Yep.
See to it that the contest rules are being adhered to, especially about the silence in between the speakers, that the doors are locked so that the audience members are not allowed to go in and out while the contestants are performing. Also, no one inside the contest room is to walk about except for the official photographer. And as the chief judge, also got to be attentive to the contestants' speeches with regards to issues of referencing and originality. I do not want to receive a protest saying that, there's a referencing and I'm not aware. I have not heard. So that is not so good, right? So I also, as a chief judge, got to be very attentive of the speeches.
So as a chief judge, do you also vote? Do you also carry the ballot paper?
No, chief judge cannot vote.
All right. You don't even carry the ballot paper?
No.
All right. Please walk through with me, Susan, what's taking place after the last speaker has finished speaking?
After the last speaker has finished speaking, I will collect the timer sheet. I will also collect the tiebreaker ballot. The ballot counters will collect all the ballots from the voting judges. I will then signal the contest chair when I'm ready to go out of the contest room to the holding room.
All right. Okay, this is very what I call that interesting questions, especially to ballot counters who are first timers. So what do you do there in the holding room with the ballot counters? What are the secret things that you do there that people do not know, but they need to know if they want to become chief judge or ballot counter?
In fact, when I brief the ballot counters, I will roughly brief them on how the tabulation is done. Yet when it's done online, it is not that clear. So when on the contest day, and when the actual work needs to be done, I will, of course, have to guide the ballot counters. And my job is actually to just oversee that is done properly and to get them to also cross-check so that there are no errors. Okay, and of course, the results are confidential, and I will remind ballot counters that results are confidential and they are not to say a word about the result. What happens in the holding room remains in the holding room.
Yes, I always joke with them. What happens in Las Vegas will stay in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Okay? It shouldn't be going out. Okay, we talked about protest just now, Susan. Who can protest actually?
Only the judges and the contestants can protest. Yes. So if there is a protest, it has to be done before the announcement of results. And when there's a protest, I will call all voting judges to the holding room. Then the contestant is called in to give this contestant a chance to respond. And then there must be a majority of votes to disqualify the contestant.
All right. How about during the announcements of results? When you go on stage, you whisper to the contest Toastmaster. What do you whisper, actually? Let us know. What is it that you're whispering about?
Remind the contest Toastmaster to announce the result in the correct manner. And of course, to also announce if there's any time disqualification. And before that, before announcing the result, to create some suspense, you know, do some drum roll. Yes, so before announcing the results.
All right.
It's nothing difficult.
Okay. How do you make sure, because I've heard it before, I've never done it, I'm always very careful. How do you make sure that you're not presenting the contest Toastmaster with the wrong results?
I will also alert the timers and the ballot counters, right? Because the timer will know if there's any time disqualification. The ballot counters will also know that if the results are read incorrectly, right? So if the chief judge has made a mistake, right, there will be the ballot counters as well as the timers there to sort of, they are aware if there's any mistake. But so far, I have not made that mistake.
So I'm glad to hear that. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you're looking for a chief judge, you may look for Susan for your club contest, area contest, and also division contest. Yeah. All right. Is that all that you do?
No, that's not all. That's not all. There's something else.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. After having got the results, I still have to hand over the notification of winners form to the contest chair or to the area director for the contestants to move on to the next level of contest.
What are the infos that you put there in the announcements of results?
Announcement of result?
To the notification of winners. Sorry, to the
Notification of winners will be the placing of
the
the
placing.
contestants, of the winners.
What kind of placing that you put here?
First, second, and third.
And how
First,
about
second, and third. And
what about fourth, fifth, and whatnot?
yes, all the contestants except the disqualified ones.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Susan, for sharing with us your experience and, of course, your knowledge based on the latest rule book on the role of a chief judge. I noticed that there are questions there. We will take it after the recording is done. Let us go through the roles of the chief judge as well as the judge first. And for the role of judges, we will reverse the role. Susan is the one who is going to ask me question. Okay, be kind with me, Susan. Your first question, shoot.
Okay, so now the table is turned, right? I will ask you questions, and to a certain extent, not fair as judge. And I was chief judge, you are judge. You don't have the roles and responsibilities as big as the chief judge, correct?
Yes, of course. Yeah, you are right. The roles of a voting judge and tiebreaker judges is to vote for the best speakers, of course, and for the voting judge to rank the top three, and for the tiebreaker judge is to rank all the speakers. That's what we do. Yes, simple, but then the result will depend on us actually. Yeah. And of course, and collection of the voting done by the chief judges, by the judges.
That's correct. You have to be so fair in your judgment and not be biased. So do judges need to remain anonymous? I have already mentioned that before, but I would like to hear from you, your opinion.
Yes, of course, I need to be anonymous at all time. So hence, I would normally mention to the organizing chair. No, I will not mention the name of the judges because, as what you mentioned, it could lead to confrontation with contestant or audience members who do not agree with the contest results. Anonymity help the judges to be more effective, of course, and make more objective decision. You have shared a lot just now about the halo effect, about not to sympathize with the others. Yeah? And by being anonymous, it can help us to be more objective in our role.
Yes, that's so true. You don't want the contestant to come bugging you and asking you questions, confronting you. Why?
Correct. Because I have heard it also before, I think perhaps at division level, and some people, I don't know, yes, division level, some of the members do not agree with the results and pressing the contestants master to reveal who the judges are. And much to the horror of the other officials, they disclose. And really, that's not the way to handle things, actually. We must make sure that the judges remain anonymous. If I'm being asked, are you a judge for this contest? No, but I heard you are. Who told you? I'm not. So that's always my standard answer.
Okay. Yes, but at times, as we know, we are rather in the open, and everyone actually knows who is who in the contest.
Correct. As much as practical as possible to remain anonymous.
Yes.
Yeah. But of course, you'll be seated among the audience members. The rest of them are looking at the contestant, while you are the one looking at your note and marking. And of course, they know who you are. Yeah.
Right. Okay. You have also asked me this question earlier, but I would like to hear from you. Where do the judges sit amongst the audience then?
Well, for me, I have a task to judge the contestant. I will choose a seat. Let's say there are two scenarios here, Susan. The first one is when there is no microphone use. Yeah? I got a bit of hearing problem. So I always sit in the first two rows, very close to the contestant. Yeah? Then let's say if the room is large enough and then it's got microphone with the speakers loud enough, then I would sometimes sit at the third or fourth row, but still to make sure that the contestants are visible to me. I want to make sure that I can see where the stage is. I want to see the whole body and not just the top part of his body as though he's appearing online. So I will sit very close to the contestant.
Yes, and not close to the contestant when they're sitting down.
Yep, correct.
Next is very important. How do you judge contestants?
How do I judge? Well, first and foremost, how do I judge? I always refer to the ballot paper actually. My style, I always refer to the ballot paper because I know, especially beyond club level, the difference between the winner and the second place could be so little. It could be just 1 or 2 points. So hence, I need to pay attention to the speech and very careful in doing the marking. And during this time, what I normally do as well, I'll fill in the ballot paper, and then, of course, I would tear the bottom part of the ballot paper completely. So that's my best practice. And then the criteria is there, and I would just need to follow based on that. Then
Yes.
let's say after tabulating the result, how come I got first place and second place with the same point, with the same mark? Then I got to make my own judgment call. I have to use my own gut feel. Which one that I like more? That's what I normally do.
Yeah, it is very important to use the specific judging items in the ballot. We cannot rely on our memory. Maybe you may say, I will give them the ranking at the end of the contest. That is never fair to the contestants. We always have to use the specific judging items so that you are very clear yourself why you are giving that particular contestant that kind of scoring. Yeah. So we just cannot rely on our memory. Perhaps if there are only 2 contestants, you may not have to use all the judging items. Yeah. But at all times, my advice is to be specific using all the judging items. Have you ever experienced a situation that you have mentioned just now, the tie between 2 speakers in your ballot paper, and how do you choose the champion then?
Your question again? When
Like
there's a tie.
you did mention there was a tie.
There's a tie.
Yeah. So if it's just based on who you favor, right? I find that is not so fair.
That's why you got to really pay
How do you break
attention.
the tie?
How do I break the tie? First and foremost, I always look at the overall message, whether I would remember it or for a long time. And if the first contestant give me that message that resonate to my heart, that's the one that I would choose as the first place winner. I always look at the overall message. Then, of course, secondly, I would look again at the errors perhaps that I make. Sometimes I do make errors. Then what I do is I just recalculate my marking. And so with that, I can always come up with the champion for the contest. Yeah.
Yes, it is. So for the as far as the chief judge is concerned, there shouldn't be any tie from the judge's ballot. Anytime you have to break the tie first.
Correct. What Susan means here is that I cannot put there first place winner is contestant A and contestant B. I must break the tie.
Yes,
Thank
you
you so much,
must break
Susan.
the tie.
Yeah.
Then what are your responsibilities as a voting judge other than judging the contestants?
What are my responsibilities?
Apart from judging contestants, what are your other responsibilities?
Okay. First, of course, to say yes to the chief judge. Yeah? Then, secondly, I make sure that I fill in the judge's certification of eligibility, of which you had also mentioned just now. And also, if I'm not eligible to become a voting judge, so hence I must inform the chief judge at the same time. Yeah?
Under what circumstances?
Under the rules, as you mentioned just now, let's say I'm new here in Toastmasters. I haven't yet completed level 1, level 2, let's say, and chief judge may not know. Yeah? So I'm the one who must tell the chief judge. So that's one of the examples. Yeah? And of course, next is to attend the briefing by the CJ, either online or physically, about my roles and responsibilities. And during this time, I always make sure, especially during the physical briefing, I always make sure that I sign the ballot paper and put my name there as well. Let me share with you my experience of being a voting judge for the first time. I was still a noob, very new, and very new in Toastmasters as well. And I was so excited of being a voting judge, and I forgot to sign and to put my name. So after the ballot counters came back from the holding room, and one of them came to me, Razi, your ballot just now is null and void. Is not valid because you didn't sign. So I learned my lesson the hard way. So always make sure that sign the ballot paper. And then when it comes to the top part of the ballot paper, as what mentioned by Susan just now, I always make sure I don't dispose it there at the venue. I'll take it home nicely, and then when I reach home, that's the time I dispose it. So I guess that's my other roles other than judging.
Yes, thank you, Razi.
Yep.
Yeah, it is very important that the ballot must be signed. Your name may not be there, but if it is signed, it is still valid.
Yep.
Then what do you normally ask during the judge's briefing?
I don't normally ask that many questions. If only question that I ask, normally if the speaking order are not shared yet, then I would just ask the chief judge to share with us the speaking order. And in certain circumstances, the chief judge also do not have the ballot, the speaking order as yet. So hence, he would just tell us, okay, refer to the group chat later on. I will share it with you there. Let's say it is only available during the contest itself, at the beginning of the contest.
Okay. Yep. All right. And you did say that you will take the top part of the ballot home and dispose it there.
Yes, of course.
Not dispose it at the contest venue.
Yeah. Eyes are everywhere. I don't want one pair of the eyes to see what I do and picked it up and have a look and share it with others. That's the last thing I would like to have actually during contests.
Have you ever been a tiebreaker judge? And what is it that you do differently as compared to the voting judge?
Yes, I have been a tiebreaker judge. That's the least popular role for me. As much as possible, I prefer not to become a tiebreaker judge, but someone has to do it. Sometimes that person could be me. So whenever I do it, it is my duty really to rank all the contestants based on my preference from number 1 to number 3 if there are 3 contestants, number 1 to number 5 if there are 5 contestants. Then um, uh, as a chief judge, as a tiebreaker judge, I would normally sit very close to the chief judge actually. Yeah. And then at the same time, being a tiebreaker, I'm only known to the chief judge. So hence, I don't normally attend the same briefing. Then if chief judge insists that I come and attend the same briefing, I would just keep quiet. It is as though I am one of the voting judges. I don't reveal myself as a tiebreaker judge. Then that's what I do. I rank all the contestants. Yeah.
Usually, the chief judge will not ask the tiebreaker judge to meet together with the other voting judges.
I know one chief judge who does that.
All right, so that defeats the anonymity, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's all I have to ask you, Razi.
Oh, okay.
And
that's rather
yes.
short as compared to what I was asking you. I guess it's because when it comes to roles and responsibilities of chief judge, you have a lot more. Yeah. And then all of us, the voting judges as well as the tiebreaker judge, we are part of your team. You are managing the team. Yeah?
Yes,
so
I
hence,
would encourage more members to take up the role of voting judge.
correct.
Learn, pick up I mean, it's not difficult. It is not difficult, really not difficult. Just do it. Yeah, just do it. And
yeah, and it is fun too. Yeah? I started as a voting judge during the physical meeting, way before the COVID era, actually. So I was traveling here and there, bumped to a lot of people, yeah, met a lot of other voting judges and as well as chief judges. Really, it enhanced my networking and found new friends along the way at the same time. So like you, yeah, we met in so many contests, right? Yeah?
yes.
And you also, we exchange roles. Sometimes you become a chief judge. Sometimes I become a chief judge. You become a voting judge. Yeah? And that's how we support each other when it comes to contests. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending this session. This session is on mastering the contest roles, a guide for judges as well as chief judges. I really hope that you have benefited and learn from the knowledge and experience that we have from both of us here. Yeah? We've been a chief judge and voting judges for quite a number of contests. So I hope it is beneficial to everyone here. So now it is time for us to answer the questions. And for that, when it comes to the answering question, I will just stop the recording. Yeah? Then we answer the questions. So thank you so much again, everyone, for attending this session. And thank you, Susan, for being part of it. And you did such a marvelous job.